He came home one afternoon to find his beautiful hedges, the ones he had spent years nurturing, chopped down to stumps. HOA Karen stood there, clipboard in hand, smiling as if she had won. But she didn't realize she had just pushed him too far, because instead of planting new hedges, he built something the HOA could never control, a wall. And when it was done, the entire neighborhood was never the same again. Marcus had always been a man of peace. A retired teacher, he had lived in his home for nearly 20 years. He wasn't flashy, he wasn't loud, but he poured his heart into one thing. His garden, tall, lush hedges surrounded his yard, carefully trimmed and shaped. They weren't just plants. They were privacy, beauty, and a living testament to his patience. Neighbors admired them. Passers-by stopped to compliment them. But not everyone admired Marcus's work. Not Karen Mitchell, president of the HOA. To her, the hedges were too tall, too dense, and not in line with HOA regulations. It started with letters, "Please trim your hedges." Then, "Your hedges are a violation." Marcus double-checked the HOA handbook. The hedges weren't in violation at all. They were within height limits, neatly maintained, and perfectly legal. So Marcus ignored the harassment. He believed reason would prevail. But Karen didn't want reason. She wanted control. One summer afternoon, Marcus returned from grocery shopping and froze in horror. His hedges gone. Where there had once been tall green walls of beauty, there were now stumps and piles of leaves. Chainsaw marks scarred the roots, and standing, in the middle of it all, was Karen, clipboard in one hand, pruning shears in the other. Marcus's voice shook with rage. "Oh, what have you done?" Karen smirked. "You were in violation. I handled it. You're welcome." Marcus clenched his fists. "Those were my property. You had no right." Karen's smile widened. "Around here, I have every right." And with that, she walked away, leaving Marcus staring at the ruins of years of work. That night, Marcus sat on his porch, staring at the empty space where his hedges had once stood. Neighbors stopped by, whispering in shock. Some told him to sue. Others shook their heads, saying Karen had gone too far this time. But Marcus? He didn't yell. He didn't cry. He simply thought. And by morning, he had a plan. Karen wanted the hedges gone because she thought they were too bold, too visible, too much of a statement. So Marcus decided to build something even bigger, something she couldn't ignore, something she couldn't cut down with pruning shears. A wall, a cinder block wall. Within days, pallets of cinder. Blocks appeared on Marcus's driveway. A cement mixer rumbled. Neighbors peeked out of windows as workers lined the blocks along his property line. Karen stormed over, furious. "You can't do this. You need HOA approval." Marcus calmly handed her a copy of city regulations. "The law allows walls up to 6 feet without HOA approval. I checked. This is perfectly legal." Karen's face turned red. She sputtered, "You'll regret this." But Marcus didn't flinch. He simply turned back to his workers. Block by block, row by row, his wall grew taller. By the end of the week, the hedges were replaced by a solid cinder block wall. Grey, unyielding, imposing. Where once neighbors had waved through green leaves, now Karen and her HOA board stared at cold concrete. Karen raged. She fined Marcus. She filed complaints. She even tried to get the city to intervene. But every time Marcus was one step ahead. He knew the codes. He knew his rights. The wall stood firm. And neighbors, they loved it. For the first time, someone had stood up to Karen. Some even asked Marcus for advice on building their own fences and walls. The HOA's grip was slipping. But Marcus wasn't finished. One Saturday, a muralist arrived. With brushes and paint, they transformed the wall into a masterpiece, a vibrant mural celebrating community, culture, and resilience. Scenes of children playing, families laughing, gardens blooming. A powerful message painted across the center. Respect lives here. When neighbors saw it, they cheered. They took pictures, they posted online. The mural went viral, drawing attention from local news. Karen? She nearly fainted. Not only had Marcus defied her, he had turned his act of defiance into a symbol of unity that made her look like the villain she truly was. Pressure mounted. Neighbors demanded Karen's resignation. News articles painted her as the tyrant who destroyed a man's hedges out of spite. The HOA board, desperate to save face, voted her out. Karen's power crumbled, just like she had crumbled Marcus's hedges. And Marcus, he didn't just rebuild. He built something stronger, something lasting. Marcus sat on his porch once again, sipping his coffee. But this time, instead of hedges, he looked out at a wall covered in color, love, and life. Children laughed as they pointed at the mural. Neighbors waved as they passed, and Marcus smiled, knowing that his wall wasn't just protection, it was justice. Because when Karen tried to cut him down, Marcus built higher. Pause, music softens. So tell me, if HOA Karen destroyed your property, would you rebuild quietly, or would you build a wall she could never tear down? Let me know in the comments. And if you believe bullies always get what's coming, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories where justice always wins.